views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
How you were there for me, and I can say.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Trendy Lindy, and this is the Sea Island Morning Show. And wow, do we have a show prepared for this morning. Well, Sea Island isn't in the studio today, so I'm holding it down one more week, but hold your horses. He will be back on next week for those Sea Island fans. He's back from Spain. He's just taking a break for today, getting prepared for the busy fall that we have coming up. So we've given him the morning off, and we're going to, just talk and try to help some people and some situations on this morning. So I am extremely excited. But before we get started, we want to let you know, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is the Sea Island Morning Show, and what we do is we talk about beauty, fashion, entertainment, life skills, and just anything that involves building up people and things of that nature. So we're Beauty Talk Radio. We're excited to be on WOL 1450, where information is power. So this morning we're going to talk about some things that's just going to empower certain individuals. So let's get started on this morning. I am so excited, so excited to have one of my good friends in the studio this morning. She is the author of her first book. It's called Shh, No More. And we are just excited. She just started her own business, and she's still working full time. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself. But we're so excited to have her in the studio this morning, because this morning we're going to talk about behind closed doors of an ex-minister. We're going to talk about ex-minister's wife. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about her as a single, her as a married lady, being divorced, and now overcoming divorce and going into just areas that she otherwise wouldn't have been able to go into had she remained in her married position. We just going to get started with what's going on. My guest name is Amina McWhirter, and oh my gosh, I believe today is going to be a powerful show. If you know of anyone who have been in a toxic relationship, an abusive relationship on any type of level, call them. Tell them to call, to tune in this morning on the Sea Island Morning Show. They can listen live to what our guest will be speaking on today. I am positive that she will be able to give a nugget, a truth, some experience that will help them know that there is life after divorce. So welcome to the show this morning. Good morning, Amina.
Good morning, Lindy. I am so excited to be here. Good morning, listening audience.
Yes. So we're going to get started on this morning. We have a lot to cover, because this young lady, though she's not old, she has gone through a lot. And she's doing so much right now in the community. So to get through a lot of what we're going to talk about, we're just going to go into it. So let's start, Amina. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, well, I am a 40-something woman that is a mother of 2 adult children. And actually, I'm happy of my age. I am 43.
Okay.
And I'm a mother of 2 adult children, 22 and 24. I am a career woman, so I do work full-time actually for Avon Products, which is a company that empowers women. I am not I am an employee for the company, and as we go through the interview, it's amazing how I'm able to work full-time for a company that empowers women and also be able to do what I know I'm called to do, on part-time as well, to still around empowering women. The other thing, too, is that I have, as you mentioned before, I started a nonprofit 501c3 foundation, Love by the Handles, which we will discuss that too. And my book, which actually just launched on Amazon at the end of July, Shush No More, Be Free and Live Life. So I'm just very excited right now in my life and what's going on.
My God. When I first approached you, first of all, God just laid you on my heart, and I knew that we would eventually have this interview. But at the time, I had no idea about the book. So, God is perfect in His ways, because the interview actually happened, after you launched the book, and I actually wanted to do the interview weeks before.
Correct.
So I am just so grateful at, God's timing, because once I read that book, first of all, I couldn't put it down. Now, I don't know if it was because I know you and, you're so dear to my heart, and I know, certain situations. I don't know if that was the reason, but I also got a few people to read it, and, they felt the same way, that, the book is just so empowering, and it definitely let you know that you know what you're talking about, and you are experienced and anointed to do what God is calling you to do now. But before we get into it a little bit further, we're going to take our caller, Willow in the city, to give us our beauty tip clip. Good morning, Willow.
Good morning. I don't know what it is, and every time y'all answer the phone, there's a plane above. That's my proof.
Is that a sign? Is that a sign that you're going to soar and just do some outstanding things in your career, girl?
Yes, it sounds good. I love it, Trendy Lindy. On point.
Okay, well, what's our beauty tip clip for this morning?
I got a beauty tip secret this morning.
Uh-oh.
It's real plain and simple. Okay, you gotten your hair done. You got it all dyed up. We got those braids. Everybody knows how disobedient they are, especially in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to touch it up real quick, right?
Okay.
You already had your hair done. You're in between styles.
Mm-hmm.
I learned this from a client, but it works like a charm. It sounds ghetto, y'all, so don't laugh. But mascara.
Okay.
Just touch up spots right around the edge. You have your blacks and you have your browns. I'm telling you, it works like a charm, ladies. Ladies, hook it up.
Wow. Okay. So for those unruly grays that
Yes.
even if when you put the color on, they still say, aha, I'm staying right here. I will not conform to the color that you want. You say, go do what now?
I'm telling you, mascara works like a charm. Now, listen, we're not talking about the whole head, ladies. We're talking about you getting ready to go out and a couple of them popped out, because you know it don't grow in black.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So touch it up. I'm telling you, it works like a charm. It's simple. It's something you already have it. Try it. Let us know.
Okay, now you know what? I was just going with you on that. You are absolutely correct. That is what my mom does. She does exactly what you said, and I wasn't gonna put her out there because you said it might sound a little. You said it might sound a little ghetto, and I don't want y'all thinking my mom a little ghetto. So I wasn't gonna say it, but y'all know me. I'm transparent and open. But so that is correct. It truly works. And as long as you don't sweat or anything, it will remain for a little while. So
yes,
that was
it is temporary.
Yes, a very good beauty tip clip. Thank you, Willow. Give us your contact information, and do you have any specials this week?
Yes, this week we have at the Sea Island Salon, Weave Wednesdays, $150 for a full sewn in. Don't forget about $20 Tuesdays, and come see us in the Natural Haven on Thursdays. $50 starts at $50. Natural and lost styles. Also, it's Willow in the City, Willow Vision Radio Show at www.lvsradios.com every Tuesday morning at 11 a.m.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your secret on this morning, and I'm sure you have helped a few people out. Thank you, Willow. Talk to you soon.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Yes. That was a wonderful beauty clip. Don't be trying to use that, Lonzo, that little mascara trick. Okay, so let's get back to Miss Amina. We're going to go on into Amina, how, your background. Let's talk, Amina. Tell us how you grew up. Tell us before you became a minister's wife. How was your life? How did you grow up?
Well, I am the only child.
Okay.
My mom raised me as a single parent. My father left us when I was around about 4 years old.
Okay.
So at that time, of course, that was a very difficult time, being a young girl and not having that father figure. Growing up and experiencing different things that, my mother did the best she could, she did the best she could, but, realizing as I moved into adolescence and teenage years, and then, of course, early young adult 20s, the father figure is so important.
Yeah.
And even if you do not have a dad in your life, just being able to have someone who can help with that role, an uncle, a big brother, whoever. And so that really, even though I did not want to make it seem as if the void affected me, but it did, in the long run. And from that, my mother, definitely, we had a good support with my family and my grandmother, who is now deceased, miss her dearly. But my grandmother and then one of my aunts really supported my mom in raising me. With that, I was a victim of abuse, molestation at a very young age, at 6 years old. I experienced that, and I'm not saying it was just because of the fact that, a product of that father's generation, had nothing to do with that abuse. It was the mere fact of just my family line at that time. And a lot of times in growing up with my grandmother, who had a lot of different issues going on herself, physically, health issues and things, she wasn't able to really give me the attention that I needed. So when we had a family friend over and, we were out and just watching TV, and of course it's a known family member and been around for a long time. It was nothing for just me and this young man who was in his early 20s to be in the same room together. But unfortunately, one day at 6 years old, he definitely began to touch me inappropriately, and of course wanted to tell me, don't tell anybody. And I will admit that from there, it just started a really bad cycle in my life, and think that at the end of the day, that's just what I was for, and then just the mindset and really letting different things travel in my mind to think that, well, maybe is that why my father left, or is this what happened, or maybe I'm just no good for, guys anyways. And it just went, and granted, that's not what the thought at a 6-year-old, but once I went into, teenage years, and then different things experienced with young guys, and my body began to be, really shapely, and it just seemed like that's all that was attracted to me. And so it was a lot of things that happened from that 4-year-old period till 17. Wow. And it was just a difficult time in my life then.
Wow. So the young man, or the guy, he basically told you not to tell anyone, and most of the time a child, will listen to what a grown person will say. So did you ever tell anyone, or are they just finding out now through the book?
No, actually I did, but I did not speak on it until I was 25.
Wow.
And I went through that at that time, as far as 25, telling my mother. When I was young, teenage or late teens, is when I told my boyfriend at the time and things like that, my then husband, but my family didn't know until I was 25.
My. Okay, so I'm sure that, that opened you up to a lot of, lust and sexual experience that a child really should not go through. But unfortunately, it happens. But and it really does something, to a young girl or boy, when they're touched, really young and inappropriately. So as you went on as a child, did this continue with this person, or, he didn't come around that much anymore?
No, it didn't continue with the person, thankfully, because just life, and like I said, it was my next door neighbor. Well, what did continue, unfortunately, was I did have different experiences with other people. It ended up going into girls and guys, and it just, like you said, it just began this really downhill cycle of sexual immorality, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. We are talking to Amina McWhirter, and we are talking about behind closed doors of an ex-minister's wife and how she overcame divorce and what she's doing now. We will be back in a few minutes to continue with this conversation. We'll be right back.
1450 WOL.
Remember the time you almost volunteered to work in a soup kitchen? Or when you almost visited the Veterans Hospital? Or when you almost brought dinner to your neighbor with AIDS? Remember all the times you almost helped, almost gave? Well, it's only human, this almost giving. But the truth is, it's the same as not giving at all. Don't almost give. Give. Visit our website at don'talmostgive.org. A message from the Ad Council.
Imagine a friend has just told you they were diagnosed with a mental illness. What would you do? Awkward, isn't it? But what's even more awkward is, if you're not there for them, they'll be less likely to recover. Mental illness. What a difference a friend makes. To learn more, go to whatadifference.org. This message is brought to you by the Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
I'm better, much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I can see that you were the one.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Sea Island Morning Show, and this is Trendy Lindy. I'm in the studio with author Amina McWhirter. We are talking about behind the closed doors of an ex-minister's wife, and she's basically just telling her testimony of how she just overcame and how she's overcoming divorce of a minister and just the different things that she's doing now. We're going to get to that. So let's get back into our conversation. We were talking about you as a single person, Amina. In the book, when I read the book just surprised me. So I don't know if I've been in a closet. Well, some of my friends say, Trendy, you've been in a closet all your life or somewhere. You just green to everything. But there were certain things that I read, like some of the sexual things that came to you happened in church. Tell us a little bit about that, Amina.
Well, first, I must say that was my experience.
Yes.
But one thing that I really want to make sure that I say loud and clear is that it doesn't matter what arena you're in.
Yeah.
It could be within your own home. In my experience, because I am truly that typical young black woman that was a church baby that grew up in church, many of my experience came from that.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter, where you are. The whole thing behind, I guess, the sexual abuse aspect or molestation and things like that is, it is true that a lot of times people don't talk about it. Yeah. And they definitely don't talk about any experiences that may have been negative coming out of church.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what your doctrine is, it's just church supposed to be the safe place.
Yeah.
So just like if it is in school, we have so many people that teachers are molesting the kids and things like that. And so either way, these institutions supposed to be safe places for individuals, and it doesn't matter if they're kids or children. Or it was a lot of not just talking about it, because one, I was young. It started from 6 on and off and went up to about 14. Mm-hmm. And it was different experiences. I mean, one thing that you're talking about specifically, because I do know you mentioned it to me, Trendy, was, the whole, the masturbation piece.
Yeah.
And different things in dealing with being exposed to women touching you inappropriately, not just men. So these different things are, at the end of the day, people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people who have not experienced it, they judge an adult for now bringing it out. We know that we've heard so many celebrities that have come out as adults talking about different things that happened to them when they were younger.
Yeah.
And unless you have experienced it, you won't understand why that happens. Why it happens is because now you have gone through counseling. Now you're able to talk about it because now you're healed through it. You're able to now be truly as a testimony. And so those are things that come over time, you know, and for me, those were experiences that I didn't know. Now, I will say this, and I really encourage men that are out there who know of young girls and teenagers who may be fatherless. Be a big brother.
Yeah.
Be that uncle. Just be in their lives, because a young girl needs that reassurance from a man.
Yes.
They really do, so that when they are growing into womanhood, that they don't find themselves in unhealthy relationships.
Yes.
As a single mom, my mother did the best she knew how, but there were many things that I felt prey and gullible to because I didn't have anybody saying, no, you are beautiful.
Yes.
And you don't have to stand for XYZ saying that you are, just so that they have another alternative motive.
Yes.
You know, and so those things are, you know, really play a part, especially in my life, and how I was fell prey to those different sexual things that happened to me.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, I guess I am, I find it a little more harsh, I would say, when it actually comes from the church or happened in the church, because, you know, I believe that, you know, though men and women of God are people, they're people first, but I believe that we are given more power. You know, we're supposed to be empowered to live right. And so, you know, when people choose to make certain choices, you know, and hurt young people, like children, it really, that angers me really, really bad. For instance, I don't know if Donnie McClurkin was a young boy when he was molested by a man, but he said in his book, every time he went to the church, to the pastor for counseling, and he wanted deliverance from, you know, being the homosexual, when he went to them, they ended up molesting him, the pastor of the church. And it happened more than one time. And I'm thinking, well, my God, where do the people go to get help and deliverance? So it really touched me when I hear, you know, men and women of God, you know, doing certain things.
Now, for me, if I could just interject real quick, Trendy. Now, for me, I want to make it very clear. In my experience, it was not, you know, in leadership or anything like that. Yeah. And for me, it was other, you know, friends. You know, it was just one of my peers. And I think it was the mere fact of we were all young and we were just experimenting. But the other thing, too, was I've learned that truly the behind closed doors, you don't know what's going on in someone else's house. Okay. So where these people and my peers were touching me inappropriately or experimenting with me and I didn't know what was going on, who knows if they were being molested? Who knows if they were sexually abused? And at the end of the day, it's just one of those topics where the abuser definitely tells you to be quiet, you know, definitely tells you to keep this, you know, to yourself. And the one thing that you did mention, and even I personally have not read Pastor McClurkin's book, but one thing that you did mention that I will find to be true is no matter who the authority figure is, if it is a minister, if it is a politician, if it is whoever that's in power, a power of position, it still is somewhat about image. So it would definitely want it to be, you know, no, I didn't do it, or no, they made me do it, or they put the advance on me, or these kind of things, because at the end of the day, you don't want your image to be tarnished, and which causes the victim to stay victimized even longer because people have made it seem as if it's their fault. So they go into this shell of not wanting to talk. And so for me, out of that experience, I ended up being very that young teenager that ended up getting pregnant, being that statistic, of being the young mom. And it really began to overtake my life and my experiences, and thinking that that's what, like I said, what I was good for, was just being that eye candy for the opposite sex.
Okay.
And so at 17, I did get pregnant. And I did get pregnant, and of course it was bittersweet because I'm excited to, have my daughter, but at the same time I'm a young mom.
Yeah.
And at that time, and even as I've shared in the book, because of the different things that I experienced, I was playing that two roles, that good church girl, but then that rebellious wild girl too. So having that, I have a boyfriend, but then I have another boyfriend, and it was just like, it was a lot going on, and I ended up getting pregnant, and I ended up getting married at 17. And yes, 17, my mother had to sign for me because I wasn't of age. And so happened it was to a young man that was at the church that I was attending, and as time went on, he did end up becoming a minister. So that's what you refer to as the ex-minister wife kind of thing.
So it was a little surprising when I read that you also had a boyfriend in high school who was a drug dealer. So because of what happened to you so young, did you seek out men that were in power, or men that were, or were they just attracted to you? I mean, how did you end up with the drug dealer boyfriend?
Well, one thing I forgot to mention is I am a true Washingtonian.
Okay.
So I'm born and raised here in Washington, D.C. And, a lot of times, especially with us back in the 80s and early 90s, I mean, it was a lot going on in that time, especially in the city and pertaining to that lifestyle. And I can say, to answer your question, it wasn't because I was young. I didn't necessarily know about men of power or young men of power, but one thing I do know is that I was searching for love. And I was searching to be accepted. And I also mentioned that, about, especially within our community, within the Black community, and this is one reason why I really love this show, and I also love what you all are doing, not just the beauty outer, but also inner, and bringing community awareness, because that's a really issue. That's a big issue when it comes to our community, about skin tones, about your complexion, your hair type, and all of that. And I was a victim to all of that. And because of the fact that I did not feel that I was pretty, and when I started to get this outside attention, it really was like, oh, okay. And it was unhealthy, but I was getting attention. And so, and at that time, because of this young guy being, big in the high school, and he's this in the community, and people knew him, it was like, oh, you want to talk to me, not knowing that he had another girl on the side, but it was a lot, of that time where it was just, my esteem was so low.
And my father always told me he didn't understand certain things because first of all, Amina, you are beautiful. Your shape has been gorgeous, and your skin and your pretty eyes. And my father used to say he did not understand how beautiful women, because he also, my father thought I was just so beautiful, but he always thought in relationships I give too much. He was like, you're such a precious jewel. You give too much to the man. And he said, you pretty women, and he started naming some of the celebrities. He was like, y'all don't know that you're pretty. So it's possible to look in a mirror, even though the outside people see the beauty, you don't see it. You don't feel it sometimes in the inside. So do you think, that it's that father figure that validates and affirms? And because I have some cousins, I'm gonna be honest, they're not that attractive, but they think they're gorgeous, and I know it's because their mother and father instill it. They instill that in them, but they don't look good, Mimi. I'm telling you. Look, we gotta come back. We gotta go to break. We gotta pay some bills. We will be back in a few moments, and we'll continue.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Live Casino. Sign up for live rewards today. Receive $25 in free play. Well, an official with the D.C. Department of Corrections was found murdered over the weekend. 64-year-old Carolyn Cross was found dead inside her Alexandria apartment on Sunday. Now, police say they've already made an arrest. 29-year-old Dewit Seum is now charged with first-degree murder in the case. President Obama says the U.S. military will hunt down ISIS terrorists in Iraq and elsewhere. Raquel Williams gives us a preview of the president's speech before Congress and before the American people later this week.
President Obama is speaking up about his ISIS strategy before he talks to the American people on Wednesday.
The next phase is now to start going on some offense. We have to get an Iraqi government in place, and I'm optimistic that next week we should be able to get that done.
In an exclusive interview on NBC's Meet the Press, the president said he's preparing the country to deal with the threat of ISIS.
And that was Raquel Williams reporting. Well, the state of Maryland is quickly becoming the land of casinos. Maryland gaming officials say they raked in $81 million in revenue in the month of August alone. That's a new record for the state. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are adding to their family. Prince William and his wife Kate are expecting their second child, according to a brief statement released by Buckingham Palace. Sports, same old hapless Redskins, at least as they start off the season. Costly mistakes ruined the Redskins yesterday as they lost to the Texans 17-6. The Nationals beat the Phillies 3-2. The Nats kick off a new series tonight against their rival, the Atlanta Braves. In the news brought to you in part by Medifast Weight Control Centers. Get fit in 4 with Medifast Weight Control Centers' new all-inclusive 4-week program. I'm Doug Parrish. When you're looking for news for Black America, go to newsone.com.
Now back to the Heritage Sports Network Game of the Week on 1450 WOL. News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
If it had not been for you,
Good morning, everyone. This is Trendy Lindy live in the studio. This is the Sea Island Morning Show. And for those of you who may be just tuning in, this is Beauty Talk Radio, where we talk about beauty, fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle skills. On this morning, we are talking about behind closed doors of an ex-minister's wife. She's actually telling a little bit. She's also an author of her first book, Shh, No More. And I know she laughed at me because I do the sound. Y'all know I'm dramatic. But anyway, Shh, No More, Be Free and Live Life. She's at Amina McWhirter, and she's here telling her story about just how she's overcome just some situations. She's talking about her life as a single, a married woman, a divorced lady, and then what she's actually doing now to empower women and to enhance the community. So we've been talking. We went back and we started talking about, you know, her life as a single person and how she grew up, and now we're basically talking about image, and we're talking about how women needs affirmation. Well, not just women, people, men and women. We need affirmation. We need validation. And as a young child, there are times we get into situations because we're looking for love. So Amina was just sharing with us her experience of looking for love and how the molestation she endured as a young child caused her to be open to sexual experiences that otherwise she may not have been involved in. But before we went to break, I was just discussing about, you know, how when we look at certain people, we look at them as beautiful. And a lot of times because they have that void and they haven't been affirmed, they don't see themselves as beautiful. And then I was talking about how I have a cousin. Now, I'm talking about for the most part, if anybody looked at her, you wouldn't think she's beautiful at all. But you cannot tell her that she's not beautiful. But I grew up watching her mother and her father constantly tell her that she was a beautiful person and that she could do anything. And now when you meet her, she's not that beautiful on the outside, but she has beauty in the inside that comes out, and she's a magnet, but she knows she's beautiful. So it's very important to get that affirmation and validation growing up. So Amina, let's continue with your story. You got married at a young age, and you know, it's actually considered somewhat a gunshot wedding, correct?
Yeah, you could say that, I guess, because of the fact that I was so young, and it was maybe others having opinions of, well, just because she's pregnant doesn't mean that she needs to get married, and and the third. But one thing that I will say is that truly everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And I realized late in life that was all a part of my journey.
Yes.
It was all a part of my journey to be able to help and empower other women, and even maybe in the long run be an example for men in order to have a healthy, relationship, and to know how to treat a woman, because of the dialogue that can come from either my foundation or the book, or just mere fact of example what's going on here today, and you inviting me here as a guest. One thing I want to mention, though, when we were talking about the beauty inside and outside, places like Bennett Career Institute and other supports in your family. It does truly take a village to raise children.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, we have to really be there for each other, and we really do have to build up each other. And it's not about just talking and telling someone that they're beautiful or what have you. It's also about just building up their inner man, their spirit. And if you see that they are frustrated, if you see that they're down even on their own well-being, and maybe their hair, skin tone, or whatever it may be, there's so many other venues out that can help people be confident.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I realized that I didn't have.
Okay.
And so I felt prey in a lot of situations with other people, with my ex-husband, where it was just like I was really gullible, and I didn't realize it because I didn't have anybody to talk to. And truth be told, I really didn't have anybody that wanted to hear the truth. And with that happening, as time went on, things really I had good moments, of course, in my marriage. I would never say I didn't, but there were definitely times when it was just like it got to be unbearable. And I would tell anyone, when it got to be unbearable, it really was when power and money came in the picture. And that came over time. I was married for a very long time, actually 19 years to be exact. And it wasn't until I got older when I realized something isn't right. And it's not all about the other person. It was something wasn't right with me.
Yes.
Something wasn't right with me because of the fact that I accepted things that I knew wasn't healthy.
Okay. Well, let's get into actually talking about the marriage. Now, watching you as a minister's wife, you appeared to be happy. You appeared to have it going on. I'm telling you, there were times that I would see you, because you frequent the hair salon that I worked in a lot. And I would see you, and there were days you had pocketbook shopping days, you and your daughter. And I'm telling you, girl, I never had enough money to just go pocketbook shopping. So looking at you, looking at your life from the outside looking in, you ended up having this humongous house that was just beautiful, that you often invited people to come to. So you just had a life that looked like it was filled with luxury and so many things that women, often want. So tell us, how was that? How were you able to make it look, or were you really happy at that time? You made it look like you were happy.
As I mentioned before, it was peaks and valleys. I mean, it was ups and downs, and it was definitely times when it was a happy time in my life, and I would never say it wasn't. What I will say is, when it comes to both of us, meaning my ex and myself, is that we both was not raised in a home that we had that luxury.
Okay.
So when things started happening, opportunities started happening more for him than me, and prosperity, quote unquote, came into our lives, and we was able to live a certain way. I think that's where just got cloudy because we really never had. When you started to it gets maybe too much and it gets to your head. And from that perspective, that's when it was times when but I will never forget that it was little things that would happen with different people, and it would say, well, oh, you don't look at price tags when you go into the store. Oh, you don't, you just go grocery shopping. Or then it was said, where you think you're better than people. And when those things started to come my way, it was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't. I don't think I have arrived that point where I'm better than anyone, because I remember when. And that's where I really started to, again, do a self-examination of, wait a minute, something's not right here. I'm not being true to who I am. I'm getting caught up. And being caught up is not good, because you forget where you've come from. And so, there was a time when I did feel like, ooh, I have arrived, I'm good. But no, I went into character. That would be the best way to say. I really, it was many days when it was like this was the role that I was to play. So play it.
Now, what's amazing about that is there are so many women out there, Amina, playing the role.
Definitely.
They're wearing the mask, they're putting on cakes of makeup, all of this costume, which they call wardrobe, and all of this playing a role when behind closed doors they are suffering, they're hurting, and they're going through, a lot of things. Now, a lot of people say, go through it for the children. But I say the children are being hurt more by seeing, mommy and daddy arguing, fussing, fighting, the police showing up at certain houses, all the time. Is that healthy for the children? So a lot of women or people that are in abusive relationships, they stay for, the children.
Well, see, that's the part that, again, is we need to be educated on as a community, honestly. And it goes back to speaking the truth. And what I mean by that is it's so many different dynamics with that, because yes, it can be you stay with the children. I stayed as long as I stayed, and a lot of what ended up happening with me, it was the undertone of mental abuse. It was the undertone of verbal abuse. It was the undertone of emotional, and so many things that we will discuss later. But those were the things for me. And when it comes to you staying, may it be staying for the children financial reasons, staying for the children just because of the fact that you want that 2-parent household, staying because of your spiritual upbringing, and staying because of God and your creator and all of these things. Those are major issues. But the reality of the matter is we're not being truthful. You're not being truthful to the children to say, you know what, we're having major problems, and I don't want to go to counseling because I'm just done. Or, yes, we are going to go to counseling. We're going to try to work it out. But if we don't, this is between me and your dad, and we're going to still be healthy in raising our children. And one thing that I will say really quickly is I left when my children were older. They were in their late teens, and I honestly thought that it was better. I stayed because of them when they were younger, but I found that was not the case. They were even more hurt behind that process, behind the breakup. And we had to go through a period of healing, a period of counseling, a period of praying, a period of people being in our lives to help us through that process. And now we're just as strong as ever based upon what we came through.
Yeah. And it took some time and process to get to that place. You know what's funny? Now, when I first became a Christian, I wanted to live a life that was just pleasing to the Lord. And I thought, if I get me a minister, if I get me a pastor, someone who knows the word, it's going to be a whole lot easier and all of those type of things. I won't have to go through, cheating. I won't have to go through abuse. You know, because you just think a man of God is just going to do godly things all the time. But that is definitely not the case. But we're going to continue talking to Amina McWhirter about her life as a pastor, a minister's wife. And we're going to talk some more about her marriage and divorce and what she's doing now when we come back after these messages.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Good morning. This WOL Traffic Update is brought to you by Arcadia Run Apartments in Manassas. Beltway Inner Loop, eastbound 495 at New Hampshire Avenue. Overturned box truck has the two left lanes closed on the inner loop of the Beltway at Route 50. Construction along the right-hand side. Outer loop of the Beltway after Route 4, Pennsylvania Avenue before Ritchie Marlboro Road. The left lane is blocked with construction. Is pretty slow heading through the work zone. Arcadia Run Apartments in Manassas opening 2 brand new buildings this September. Visit ArcadiaRun.com for details. That's ArcadiaRun.com. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by VisionWorks. For today, mostly cloudy, high around 79. For tomorrow, showers in the morning, scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, a high near 76. The right glasses will improve your confidence as well as your vision. Our Eyes is now VisionWorks, where you'll find more than a pair of glasses. You find a better you. VisionWorks. Steve Hirschhorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Sea Island Morning Show. And on this morning, we are talking about behind closed doors of an ex-minister's wife. She's a new author of her first book, Shh, No More, Be Free and Live Life. And we're just excited because this book is, it was created to empower, encourage, and enhance your well-being. I'm just so proud of this young lady, but we're going to get into that in a little while. So now we're talking about Amina McWhirter's life as a married minister's wife, and I was just talking about how a lot of women I know, especially women that believe they have a calling on their lives. A lot of us, want a minister, a pastor, a man of God who, is God-fearing, and we believe that, because they know the word and they're empowered and endued with the Holy Ghost, that they're going to do what's right and what's proper in a relationship. But that's not always the case.
You're correct. It's not, because one thing that everyone has to realize is we're all human.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to not just preachers, but when it comes to anybody of power, politicians, we see it every day in the news, anyone in authoritative positions, we give them a little bit more credit than what they should have. And what I mean by that is, do not get me wrong, when you're in certain positions, it does require certain things to come with it. May it be character, integrity, as you were talking about, dealing with preachers specifically, a upstanding life and all of that. But what we have to realize is that everyone's human.
Yeah.
And I feel it goes back to what I said in the very beginning of this interview, is that it goes back to people not standing in their truth. Mm-hmm. Whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. If you're and now granted, it's some things that you cannot tell everybody because they may not, it may not be a safe zone, and they may not be there to really support and encourage you, and they can use it against you. I get all of that. But I think that a lot of times within the church world and in that arena especially, or in any high-positioned, high-powered position, is we're not honest. If we have areas that we're struggling in, we really can't talk about it because it's used against us. So what ends up happening is we live a life of, a life of lies. Mm-hmm. And then when the dirt, whatever that dirt is, come out, now it's like, oh, I cannot believe he did it or she did it, because we wasn't able to be truth.
True.
We wasn't able to stand, and you know what, this is a struggle. This is something that I'm going to, seek help on, or this is how I'm living right now, and you know what, I like it. You may not, but this is who I am. And so I think that's the part that ends up, and even when it comes to me really going through certain things, I told everyone. For the most part, if a question was asked, I even lied to my medical doctors when I was going through so many health issues, and I had heart palpitations because of stress. I had anxiety attacks, major anxiety attack, because I was keeping all of this in of really what was going on. I was not honest. I was not truthful. And what I try to do now, like never before, is stand in my truth. This is who I am. This is where I am. And if you are a person that do not like what I'm doing, then it's true. You can, hey, keep me in prayer. I'll take the prayers. But also understand that I'm living in my truth. And I really think that that is what's important now. And truly, in living in your truth, you have to be able to also let people know, I'm not in a good place. I am experiencing abuse. I am, unhealthy, or my weight is I'm gaining so much weight because I'm dealing with all of these other issues that I'm not being honest about. Those are things that we have to really put in the forefront so that healing, deliverance, help can come to our fellow sisters.
Exactly. Amina, when I was married, it was really it was one of the worst times of my life. It was horrible. I felt like I was in prison. And there were times I would prostrate myself on the floor in the middle of the night, 2 a.m, calling out to God to help, deliver me from this awful situation. And there were times my ex-husband would get up, he would hear all of the talking to the Lord and everything. He would wake up from his bed, walk over me, go to the bathroom, walk back over me. I'm crying, boo-hooing, and he get back in the bed and go to sleep. And I'm like, does the man even care? So, you were married, triple the time that I was. So in your time of your being unhappy, being unfulfilled, not being able to live the life you believe God created you to do, which is empower women, because we always saw that on you. Did you feel, how did he respond to some of your pain? Did he walk over you like mine did and say, well, that's your problem?
Not physically.
Okay.
But yes, and many times in his actions, many times emotionally, many times mentally, because of the fact that that's why the book, the foundation, things that are happening in my life now is able to happen, because it could not happen during that time when I was with that particular man.
Okay.
And I look back on things that I experienced even with him, it's because it was some, insecurities on his part, or it was some, again, things that I settled for, things that I acquiesced to, knowing that I shouldn't have. And that's where the healing had to come with me. It was not, when I really start to do that inner healing, when I really started to seek counsel, when I really started to be truthful in my prayers and being able to say, you know what, this is what's going on, I was really then exposed. And that's why the chapter in the book, the first chapter is talking about mirror. Yeah. It's like I had to really look at myself to say, you know what, I allowed it. Not to justify what was happening to me, but I allowed things to happen because of these various reasons. And yes, it was times when it was not acknowledged. It was times when it was sugar-coated with, oh, well, this is just how it's supposed to be because of the calling on our lives, kind of justifying, how I was being treated inappropriately, or not the attention, just like how you were saying that your ex-husband didn't give you and saw you hurting. Yeah, it was, hey, just get with it. And it wasn't, and that wasn't right. And as time went on, that's when I had to say it wasn't right. Now, in me, yet again, not being honest at the time, yes, it left me open to be able to talk to other people, to have relationships with other people, because my friends was his friends. I had no other circle, and once it got to the point where I was literally drowning, once I ended up having an anxiety attack in church, that's when I said, wait a minute, something is really wrong here. And, I am so living a lie. And don't get me wrong, there's many people who, they praise and they love, especially that pastor wife, that first lady life. God bless you. But the truth be told, that there are many unhappy pastors' wives. There are many unhappy first ladies. There's many unhappy deacon wives. There's many unhappy politician wives. There's many unhappy entertainer wives. And what happens is, yes, we talk about, the divorce rate is so high. And then, it's also high in the church. And how are you not going to be an example if you're, supposed to be in a church and yet you're getting divorced? Because truth be told, that's what the problem is. No truth is being told that your relationship isn't healthy. No truth is being told that we need to deal with some issues with these people that are in these positions. And so that's what ends up happening. And, it still is, we have to be honest with what's happened. How come so many of these women are hurting?
Yes. Well, was there anyone in your circle who saw, what you were experiencing and advised you to leave before you decided to leave? Was there anybody?
Not at all. No one ever. And I'm so glad you asked that, in case that was a question out in the public, is no one advised me of anything. Now, as I just mentioned before, there were times when, because I didn't have the circle of support, that I began to talk to coworkers. There were times when I began to reach out and be able to talk to people that didn't have anything to do with it, because it was my safe place. But what really happened was when 2008, 2007 was really the year of transformation for a lot of things in my life. But when 2008 hit and I had that anxiety attack, I will never forget, it was April of 2008, and I had the anxiety attack, and there was a lot of things that was going on in my life and in my marriage at the time that caused me to really go to a bad place, break of a mental breakdown, on the brink of a mental breakdown, the anxiety attack. My pressure went from, it was 76/32. I almost was out of here. Is when I really had to wake up and say, I'm about to die. And this is not a healthy place for me. And so with that, people still counseled me to stay. People still counseled me where, this is just something that, is coming against you, but, you all's marriage will stand through this and things like that. And I had no place to go. I had no place to go.
My goodness. Wow. So when you were married, and I experienced that. I experienced when I was going through, and I felt like I was going to give it the most I could give it, as long as I could give it. But I believed I was more important than being married to my ex. Their thing is, you stay together. You made this decision. Stay there. Make it work. In fact, it was your ex who were one of our counselors, and he told me, he said, the Linda West Point that I know, she will pray, she will fast, she make things happen. She don't just give up. And I said, well, it takes two. I can't do it alone. And the comment that he made really, really hurt me. One of the comments he made was, he said, first of all, he didn't believe, in a divorce at all. And he said he would never, he's getting to the place that he would never remarry a person who was once divorced. And it hurt me because I told him, I said, I'm bleeding in the inside. I am bleeding. So the church support was not there. And, it can cause a person to leave the church, because, the people that you serve under and teach you the word, that love piece is missing sometimes when you find yourself in need. So, that was really hard to deal with, not having the support of the leadership and just someone that you can tell, I'm dying emotionally, spiritually, physically, and if somebody don't throw out a lifeline, I don't know what's going to happen. Correct. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how Amina McWhirter, what her breaking point was when she decided, to have courage and to save herself. We'll be back after these moments.
1450 WOL, Washington, D.C., and WPRS HD2, Waldorf, Washington, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
When it comes to using their wireless phones, drivers everywhere are making safety their most important call.
Are you kidding me? You know our curfew. Look, I'm driving now, but I'll be home in a little bit. We'll take care of this then.
Stressful or emotional conversations can take your mind off driving. Avoid them behind the wheel. Your wireless phone can be your best safety tool. Don't let it become a distraction. The wireless industry and the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration remind you, with wireless, safety is your call.
Imagine a friend has just told you they were diagnosed with a mental illness. What would you do? Awkward, isn't it? But what's even more awkward is, if you're not there for them, they'll be less likely to recover. Mental illness. What a difference a friend makes. To learn more, go to whatadifference.org. This message is brought to you by the Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
They say America is a land of opportunity.
But for some of us, it's not so easy.
Today, 1 out of every 6 children in America lives in poverty, where every day is hard. And there's never enough.
But we don't want a handout. We want a way out.
This is America. Together, we can do so much.
Will you help?
Nearly 13 million children live in poverty. Make a difference. Go to povertyusa.org and get involved. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
I'm better, much better.
Yes. We are live on the C. Allen Morning Show. This is Trendy Lindy. C. Allen is recuperating from his trip to Spain. He's back now. He will be in the studio on next week. But this morning we have live in the studio Amina McWhirter. She's written her first book, Shh, No More, Be Free and Live Life, Empower, Encourage, and Enhance Your Well-Being. We're going to talk a little bit later about her nonprofit business that she's started to help and empower women. So we're going to continue with our story. We've been talking to Amina about how she grew up in her single life, and now we're talking about her as a married woman. But we're finishing that up. We're going into the courageous move that you made to say enough is enough. I have to leave this marriage to save my life. What was the breaking point for you, Amina? What made you do that?
For me, it really was honestly what I mentioned before about the where my health was going.
Okay.
And when that anxiety attack hit me in church is when I said, oh my God, something is serious. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the paramedics came to church. From my understanding, eyes was rolling in the back of my head. I was losing consciousness. It was really bad from my understanding. And once they finally got me calm and let me know, breathe and this and that, and et cetera, I was in the ambulance, and the paramedic, so happened, was a woman. She said, do you want your ex-husband, husband, ex now, to come in the ambulance? And I looked at her and just shook my head, no. That was the breaking point. That was the breaking point of me saying, you know what, now I'm going to be honest. I have really lived about 4 years prior to that, having a heart monitor, going through a lot of health things, because I wasn't honest. I wasn't truthful that my situation was bad. And that's when things really turned. Now, with that, I still ended up staying a year later, but through that year, it was very difficult, because now where I was really trying to be that good, upstanding Christian woman, a lot of things came in my life at that point, which was a lot of temptation, which was anger, which was anger not just to my ex, but anger to the church, because I felt that they didn't have my back anyways, as you mentioned earlier, where it wasn't that safe environment for me. It was somewhat a lot of corruption, and it was just a lot of things, that this was just a bad situation. And I realized that, you know what, wait a minute, it's going downhill. And I really have to make a change. And my whole thing was, I did not want, again, to fall prey into anything happen where I would be tempted in having affairs. I would be tempted into talking against church and being out in the community and really blaspheming, quote unquote, things that happen in that world. But things started to happen where those things were going on. And I realized that, wait a minute, enough is enough. And this is just going to be a spiral down that's not going to be healthy. And what really ended up happening for me, and I understand that because of the lifestyle that I lived at that time, was really about perception, as you talked about before, really about appearance. And even though I realized that I had no problem in admitting where I was wrong at anything, but the truth of the matter is, there was some unhealthy things that was going on his end that caused the separation, that caused the ultimate divorce, that was not really discussed. And from that, there was definitely a humiliating public announcement that happened to me, that was the breaking point, to the point where, regardless if, I again wasn't truthful, that when I finally left, that I could say, hey, I am getting a divorce today. It didn't happen till about 2.5 years later of a separation. But when things were still transpiring, that undertoned, I'm not even going to say undertone, to the public, they didn't see it. But to me, the emotional and verbal abuse was still happening. When it did turn public, that's when I said, enough is enough, I'm done.
Okay, when it turned public. Okay, so the pain that you suffered in your marriage, what was it? What was it exactly? Was it mainly, what I saw was control? Was it basically control that was emotionally abusive, and the verbal abuse, or just making you feel small? What actually was the abuse that you actually experienced? Did you experience physical abuse?
I did not experience physical abuse with my ex-husband. No, I didn't. I experienced physical abuse when I was dating in high school, and when I was in that relationship with the titled drug dealer, Yes, so I did experience it in a relationship, but I was younger, and I don't want to even make light of that, because teenage date violence,
Yes.
abuse, that's very big and what's happening in our community, and we don't discuss it. So I'm not going to make light of that because any form of abuse is serious and it is severe. What I will tell you is that the nonviolence abuse, and that's one reason how come I really focused on that in my book. That is what's not discussed. That is what's not discussed on the platform that we need to understand. Intimate partner violence, domestic violence. It is not all physical.
That's right.
Sexual abuse is happening. Verbal, emotional, even spiritual abuse is happening. And these are the topics that in my book I wanted to talk on, because we often talk about the physical, but we have women who are silently going through these things. And the crazy part about it is that's what people are making them think. They're crazy. They're crazy. They're too sensitive. Oh, you're living in your imagination. And don't get me wrong, we as women, and we can sometimes
be a little emotional.
And we can let that imagination run. Now I get that. For my fellow man listeners out here, male listeners, yes, we can, but that is not an excuse when it's being abusive. Abusive act towards us. That is real.
Exactly. And you know what often frustrates me is that a lot of times when it's emotional, verbal abuse and things of that nature, people often believe that you should be able to handle that. It's not as bad as the physical abuse. Getting your teeth knocked out and a black eye is not as bad as someone telling you you're not worthy, you're this, you're ugly, you're fat, you're all of these abusive things. They're not as bad, but they are. In fact, to me, it's worse, because that black eye can heal. In a week, you may not even, recognize that you had a black eye, but those constant beatings verbally and mentally, they play in your head over and over. When you're sleeping at night, you're still hearing him say this, you're still hearing that go on, and it lives with you to the point, sometimes you can't even move into your high place or your destiny, because you're so, that seed that was sowed into you, you start believing it, you start acting on it, you start walking little and small like they tell you. And it's the worst thing ever. Even, in my situation when I was married, my people believe my ex was a teddy bear, and he was a really sweet guy, but he was subtle with his emotional and mental abuse. He knew what I liked, so he would keep things away from me, and he knew what I needed. He would not do those things, and it really made me feel like I was bleeding in the inside. So there are a lot of victims out there who have never been touched by their spouse. They've never been hit physically, but you are going through a whooping every day emotionally, and that's what causes the anxiety attacks at times.
Exactly, because of the mere fact of everything you said is the key. People do not believe that the scars that you don't see are just as severe as the scars that you do see, because we have to realize. Now, one thing that I need to make clear to everyone is, no, I don't have letters by my name. I don't have the degree in psychology. But what I do have is the life experience of me being able to validate what I'm saying and being able to write the book, start the foundation, because I lived it, and I lived it for so long. And one thing that I can say is that the scars that people don't see, that's affecting, just as you said, Trinity, that's affecting how you are in your career, how you feel in your self-worth, how you may think that, you talked about having calling and your purpose and being able to go to the next level, but because you've been so browbeated and because you've been so discouraged and, you just feel like, okay, well, no, I can't do it, or this is all I'm good for, and that's not the case. And for me, what really happened when you asked about the control, the control went into other areas and made me feel like, you know what, I was supposed to have been that person just to help him in his purpose and just to be, you know, the mom and just to be a working mom, but all of the other things was to be on back burner. And I realized, I mean, it got to the point where just even from, you know, you talked about, you know, clothing and undergarments and how I looked, all of that was still me being controlled of what to wear, how to act. And it just was not, it wasn't healthy.
Oh my gosh, Amina, some of the things that I witnessed with watching the two of you, I talk to God about everything, and some things sent me to the prayer closet, but I saw things like him writing out your tithing, your tithe check. I'm like, she can't write a tithe check. I saw things like one time I was at your house and you asked him, you said, what do I put on today? Do I wear pants or dress? And he told you, and I'm like, oh God, she can't wear what she want to wear. Right. It was so many things. Right. The lingerie book didn't come with your name; it came with his name. Just certain things I saw that spoke control so loud. I'm gonna finish this when we come back from break. I heard that music, Lonzo, but I'm gonna get this out. So anyway, we gotta go to break. We gotta take 2 minutes and pay some bills. We will be back after these moments.
1450 WOL.
Because I had you to hold on to.
Good morning. This WOL traffic update is brought to you by D.R. Horton. Inner loop at Beltway, New Hampshire Avenue. 2 left lanes are blocked. It's a truck that flipped over on the Beltway inner loop heading eastbound toward College Park from Silver Spring. Work zone on the inner loop at Route 50 partially blocks the right-hand side of the roadway. Outer loop after Route 4, Pennsylvania Avenue. Left lane blocked there for roadwork and a brief delay. It's D.R. Horton's annual Red Tag sale. Get half off select options on new homes throughout Maryland and Virginia this month. Visit drhorton.com. Equal Housing Opportunity Builder, MHBR 535. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Heritage for the Blind. For today, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 70s. Tomorrow, rain showers in the morning, scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. Tomorrow, high near 76. Be a star. Donate your car to Heritage for the Blind. Call 1-800-DONATE-CARS or 1-800-446-1234. Steve Hirschhorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Now I'm wiser. I'm better. So much better.
Yes. We are back here live in the studio. This is the Sea Island Morning Show. And this morning I have been talking to first-time author Amina McWhirter. And she has a new book out called Shh No More, Be Free and Live Life. Empower, encourage, and enhance your well-being. And before we went to break, I was just talking about, and we're talking about her life and how she grew up, and she got a divorce, and now she's doing wonderful things in the community. We're going to get to that in a few, but we want to just give you some background because we want to give you information later to go get her book and support this first-time author who has courageously stepped out and took a leap of faith, and she's telling not all, she's telling just a piece of her story and her testimony to help other victims and people who are being abused and living in abusive and toxic situations to know that there is life outside of that spouse. You know, you can be the person, you know, God created you to be. That, you know, your life is, you don't have to be tied to this person in order to be someone. So before we went to break, I was just sharing some of the things that I observed. For instance, the lingerie book came in the husband's name and not her name. So, you know, he chose that. He chose a lot of times I saw personally where you would ask, what should I wear today? And he would tell you. There was a time that you and I, Amina, had a conversation in a car, and it was about an hour long. It was cold outside. I remember that day like it was yesterday. And we talked about a situation that was going on where one of our friends had made mention of how you and your husband, ex-husband, got together and things like that, and, you know, things that went on. And I believe you went home and told your ex-husband what we talked about, and the next day you came to me and you said, Linda, please don't mention what you and I talked about to nobody. My husband said I shouldn't have said none of that, and I could see the fear and the terror on your face, and it hurt me so bad. And I looked at you, I said I would and I never have. I told you I would never say anything, you know, that you and I talked about, because I knew of your position, you know, in the church and being that wife, and I would never say anything, you know, to hurt you or him. So, but just the fear that you walked in, it was like you were like a puppet at times. And you just, I mean, even your book said he would give you and the children a look, and y'all would straighten up and do certain things. And I looked and I said, my God, that is awful. But the thing that really angered me and really made me upset, one day you were coming to the hair salon, and at this time you weren't driving, and instead of him dropping you off in front of the door, he dropped you off on a highway, and I saw you like running through bushes and climbing up a hill to get to the salon. And I thought to myself, what husband who really adored his wife would treat her that way? And it really hurt my feelings, because one, you know, I just thought, you know, a husband should be so much sweeter and better. But the fear that I saw you walk in, and you know, and you were always so quiet and always tried to stay in your place, and it just really angered me what I saw. So when I heard that you know, decided to walk away and y'all were getting a divorce, first of all, I was hurt because I love both of you. But I understood on the flip side, because it's like, who could live through that forever? I mean, the only place I could see you was leaving here early, because nobody can stand up under, you know, that type of stress and pressure forever. And it was like you had no identity. I remember the time your ex, he agreed to teach me and another person of the church. He was strategically teaching us, because we had a calling on our lives. And you sat there and you asked, you said, can I be a part of the Bible study? I want to know too. And he looked at you, was like, you better get over there and sit down, and wouldn't allow you to be a part. In my heart, you know, I'm like, why she can't? I ain't saying because I ain't want to risk not being able to do it myself. But in the inside, I'm thinking, oh, why can't she do it? So I saw so many levels of control. And then because I didn't have the father figure, a part of me was a little bit confused, because I confused it with love. There was a time we were late. We were over your house really, really late. And you were asleep, curled up, looking all sweet on the floor, all nice. And he came and scooped you up and took you upstairs to your bed. And a part of me said, well, dang, she can't even lay on the floor of her living room. But then the other part of me said, but that's so sweet. I want to be scooped up, you know. So I was, you know, I toyed, because a lot of it looked like care. But then so much of it looked like control. So, and
it was a combination of both CCs, you know, care and control. But one thing that I really want to interject, because of course, you know, you share what you observed, because a lot of what you observed was really what was happening. Again, it was me not being truthful. Yeah. Truth be told, I stayed way too long. Okay. But I'm glad that I did, for various reasons. One, to be able, again, to be on the show, to write the book, to have the foundation, because it's always a part of my journey. It was all a part of my calling. But one thing that I will be able to say that from what you mentioned, that was really the key to it all, is I had to realize, again, that I had a greater calling. And I had to understand that a lot of the women that were in my life at the time, I couldn't really be their friends, i.e. our relationship wouldn't be able to be where it was, because I didn't know that I wasn't encouraged to be around strong women. I wasn't encouraged to be around strong women because of maybe that intimidation of, you know, if I was strong in certain aspects, then I would have left a long time ago. And I realized that later. And one thing that I will say is that's the reason how come I really started the book per se. The foundation was something that I wanted to do years, I would say at least about 10 to 12 years, even in my marriage at the time. And I couldn't do it because, again, it would be too much of empowering. And at that time, I would have had to talk about what was going on. And that was not going to happen at that time. But one of the things really what you have mentioned about the fear and the control and it looks as if care, that's a lot of times what happens with an abused victim. The abuser does do all of that to make others think that it's not that bad, and to make the person who the abusee be like, oh, well, I could stay because he did, he said he loved me. Oh, he didn't mean to do that. Oh, it's me. I'm so sensitive. Oh, I shouldn't have did that to him, or he wouldn't have did that to me. It's all of these mind games, and before you know it, women stay, and men, because men are abused too, but we're focusing on women. I focus on women. Women stay, and some of them die. They die physically in that situation. I was dying mentally and emotionally, spiritually, because there was a time I don't have nothing to do with church, because church was what I felt abandoned me. They were the ones that betrayed me. So it was a lot. And with that, I was able to see and find healthy relationships, healthy friendships, healthy, I'm dating even now, and being able to now see that you can be with a man if you decide, after divorce or whatever it may be, that you want to stay single or you want to get in a relationship. The key of that is making sure that you get into a relationship that is healthy and not toxic to take you back to that foolishness and where you came out of. So now, yes, I am dating, but this person is extremely supportive in what I know I'm purposed to do, as I am what he's supposed to do, because we're both individuals first. And if you're not going to be with someone that you can really say that you're equally yoked with, a lot of times that gets confused, because it's not just about your faith, it's about everything in your life. How do you communicate? How do you want, what is the business aspect of your relationship? All of these things play a part. And if you're not going to be able to be in a healthy relationship, then you know what? It is good to be by yourself.
That's right.
And it is okay.
That's right.
To be by yourself.
It definitely is. You mentioned being in a relationship. We've also know that your ex have remarried. How did that make you feel? Did you feel anything?
Not at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all, because when it was all said and done, I definitely have moved on. One thing, once I really began to stand into my truth, that didn't mean anything to me. Not just because I had moved on too, but I moved on, more importantly, not because I started dating as well. I moved on because I moved on to empower myself. I moved on to become a better Amina. I moved on to realize that, you know what, I do have a purpose, and I do have a calling in my life to be able to help other people. And you know what? God bless you. You do what you do, but I am about to do what I need to do. And it has nothing to do with anyone else. Even in writing the book, I have heard different things and, tell all this and that and so forth. And it's none of that, because truth be told, when people purchase the book, it's about me. It's me being raw with things that have happened in my life and things that I've overcome. Me talking about subjects that don't want to be talked about. Me discussing, like I said, verbal abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse and things. Those are things that we don't really talk about. And because I have experienced it all, I'm exposing myself. That's right. So when it's all said and done, it was truly a healing, therapeutic writing project, because of the fact that I finally realized, oh my goodness, God, everything that I went through was not for me. It was to save another woman, to encourage another woman, to let another woman know that she is not by herself.
That's right.
And that I am not the savior. I am not this person that's going to be there to take all of these women in. No, but I am going to be the voice.
Yes.
To be able to say, you know what, I will stand with you to break the silence, to be able to be empowered, to be able to be encouraged. And if you do decide to stay in your relationship, I did not. But if you decide to stay in your relationship, here are the tools to help you get to a place of healing, counseling, being honest. And that's what was important for me to get out and shush no more, be free, and live life.
My God, I am so grateful that you had the courage, because like you said, there's so many women that they do not have the courage to leave, and some of them die in the situation, emotionally, mentally, and physically. That, you know, they leave up out of here way before their time because of fear and because of, you know, just not knowing what to do. So I applaud you for just everything of how, you know, what you've done and how God is using you now. We have to go to break. We're going to wrap up about the divorce, and then we're going to move into some of the positive things that's going on currently in Amina McWhirter's life. We'll be back in a few moments.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
In the place to be. Hey folks, Roland Martin here from News One Now. Today we talked about, of course, the case of the Atlanta Hawks co-owner Bruce Levinson, his email that sparked him to sell his team. Many called it racist, but a lot of callers disagreed with that. A very provocative conversation we had. Also, we're joined by Dr. Wilmer Leon, Francesca Chambers, and Cleo Bonago on our panel as well, discussing that and other issues. Also, the playmaker, Michael Irvin, a Football Hall of Famer. We had part 2 of my interview with him. Great time chatting with Mike. Folks, when you miss a show, you miss a whole lot. Tune in on Tuesday to News One Now. Folks, we have Deborah Owens, our Wealthy You segment, our wealth coach, and also Howard Fuller, one of the leading voices when it comes to school choice. He comes on to talk about his new book right here with yours truly, Roland Martin. In the place to be.
We inherited this business from our father.
Who got it from his father.
We needed an emergency preparedness plan in case of fire, cyber attack,
or anything.
So we went to ready.gov and got free checklists, templates, and more to be prepared. Thanks to ready.gov, we worry less about keeping Rizzo and Sons in business.
Only it should be Rizzo and Grandsons.
And granddaughter.
Right.
Go to ready.gov for details on creating an emergency preparedness plan. Becoming a success is hard work. Protecting it isn't. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Ad Council, and this station.
Dad, can I ask you something?
Sure.
There's this girl I kind of like.
Say no more. You just have to impress her.
Okay, but how?
Just, I don't know, pick up a lot of heavy things around her.
Like what?
You know, desks, chairs, people. Grunt if you have to.
Grunt?
Yeah, be like, oh! There you go.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. When you adopt a child from foster care, just being there makes all the difference. To learn more, call 1-888-200-4005. A public service announcement brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
News Talk 1450 WOLAM, where information is power.
Tell them never could have made it.
Oh, Lord have mercy. This is what happens, you know, when you're in the studio with friends and family, you talking during break and coming back with all kinds of stuff on your mind. So anyhow, we have been talking to Amina McWhirter. This is her first time writing a book, and we're so excited because I'm sure it's not the last book she will be writing. But this book, she's telling a little bit about her life when she was married, her single life, how she grew up, and it's a phenomenal book. In fact, when I first heard that you were getting a divorce, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and as time went on, I said, she got to write a book. I want to write it for her if she don't do it. You know, I'm that takeover spirit kind. And I'm like, I will write it, because I'm so used to seeing the timid Amina, not this powerful woman who have come to the forefront right now. Because really, you know, you said that, you know, you may not have been that strong, that's why you stayed that long. No, you have a good heart, and you grew up from your mom and your grandmother, and you had those spiritual values in you. So, you stayed, because you were trying to do the best you could, but you were always a powerful woman. I remember a time where, I don't know if it was a youth service or something, but you were up there and you were praying for the people. Girl, you started laying hands. They were falling out under the Spirit, and we were like, good gosh. And we knew then, that God is with you. He's behind you and for you, and there's a great calling on your life. So we always saw it. This is the last question before we move into your nonprofit. Were you surprised at some of the people who were not in your corner, who, after you decided to leave, were you surprised at anyone who just turned their back on you?
I was surprised about everything, to be honest with you. I was surprised about the friends that I thought that I had that ultimately, I guess, were fans, because they really wasn't friends, or they would have stayed even in the hard times. I was surprised about, different things that even I was going through that was taken lightly. I was surprised about a lot of my own personal struggles and indiscretions and things of where I wanted to turn away even from God, and people not understanding why, I wanted to, because of the hurt and the people that left me. And so it was so many things that happened, and even from the standpoint of really going through certain things and being in church for so long and being in the position that I was, and just not being, again, real, and saying that, that this is really not who I am. Mm-hmm. And for true friends that ended up being with me longevity, not the ones that was at the church that I was attending at the time, but my longevity friends that were out of my life, that have come back in my life, those are the true friends that stand the test of time and stand the test of circumstances and situations. In addition to that, it was also me understanding and being open to new friendships, and me knowing that that was also a part of the journey of where I needed to be, and where and who lives I needed to change and be an example to. And now it is really just me letting people see the rawness, exposing the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that I can help people. I was looking at the Steve Harvey, and he was on Oprah last night, and he was talking about even his success and where he is now. And the one thing that really stood out to me, and I'm not going to quote him on it because I don't remember everything, but in me paraphrasing it, is the one thing that stood out is he is where he is because of everything that he's been through. He's been through everything, the ups, the downs, the ugly, homelessness, this, that. I have also experienced, and so many other people have experienced that. We just don't talk about it. That's so right. You talk about it within your own community. When you see someone that is down and out, when you see someone that doesn't look that happy, extend love, extend kindness. And I really feel that that's not being happening how it should in church, not being happening how it should at work, in our families. That's how come depression is so high, suicide is on a high percentage now of not just celebrities but within our community, because people are not being able to be real. Yes. People are not being able to express and expose things that are happening in their lives. And granted, yes, prayer changes things. It was even discussed with other people about, having a greater relationship with your Creator and having a relationship with God. All of that is true, but we're also on this earth to help our fellow brothers and sisters through this process too. And so from that standpoint, that's what made me really even start the foundation. Years ago, I said that I wanted to be able to have a venue where I can be able to partner with other organizations like a Career Bennett Institute, with other women who are very successful in the professional world, so that we can be able to encourage and empower each other as women and build a greater sisterhood. A lot of times we as women can be the strongest community, the strongest gender, but we're not. We're like crabs. You're succeeding. I don't want to help you. You find it on your own.
That's right.
And that's not something that I wanted to be a part of. And with the foundation, I wanted to be able specifically to help these women that are in transition. It's open for men, women, and children. But when I found, especially this year alone, because I started the foundation, Love by the Handles, in 2012, but just became a 501c3 this year. And what I found is so many of women in shelters or in domestic violence centers, a lot of them, like how you talked about before, Trinity, is victims of a lot of that non-violence abuse. And that's the silence, of where these women are. And before you know it, they're leaving and they just have nowhere to go. And nobody believes that their situation is as serious as it was. And so for me, that's where, all of what happened with me to cause me to even write the book, and cause me to even, in the book, I leave a section so that the reader can start to be honest with themselves and write down, you know what, this is what is going on. This is what I experienced. This is what I'm really being silent about. And it may help them not just, it helps them first in, again, being honest and being able to write. And then hopefully from that, they can be honest and now seek help.
Exactly. The word talks about how it's the truth that makes us free. It's impossible to have freedom, to walk in freedom, and you're living a lie, or you're living in deception, or you're wearing a mask and a costume every day and pretending to be something else, or pretending to have some fairy tale type of life that's really not the truth. And it's when we, take courage and face the truth is when healing and freedom, liberty, and all of those things can come. So I am just so grateful that, you did not once have a voice, but now your voice is loud and it speaks volumes. And I believe that you're going to touch so many women. And, I have never been a Amina fan. I have always considered myself to be a friend. In my heart, you have always been my sister, but I am now friend, sister, and fan now, because I am so proud of just the courage and just, what you've done is you've put yourself out there. You face a lot of ridicule. There are some people who no longer, they can't stand you because of what you've done. There's so much that, that you put yourself out there when you said enough is enough, and you took a stand for yourself. And a lot of times, women, we don't stand for ourselves. We stand for our children, our grandchildren, the spouse, but we don't stand for ourselves. We won't pamper ourselves. We just act like we don't matter. But you said, I matter. He's your God, but he's my God too. He loves you, but he also loves me. And it's the same out there for a lot of the other victims and people that are being abused. You are loved. And a lot of times you don't love yourself and you stay in these situations. So I'm proud of you, Amina, for loving yourself, and not just, loving your kids and staying, like some of the others stay, but you loved yourself enough to get out and use your voice and use your testimony and experience so that you can make a difference in someone else's life. And
it wasn't, if I can interject real quick, it really wasn't easy.
And I know.
I mean, it wasn't,
and it's still
easy.
not, right?
And one that I found, and even some questions that, you've asked, I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that one, but I answered it.
Yes.
But even then, it's like, this is still a part of that healing journey. And one thing that, I've taken training through like DC Coalition for Domestic Violence, and one thing that I did take training with that time so that I can be able to be to be informed and to understand the civil and the criminal side of DV issues, and be able to be a little bit more sensitive out of my experience, be able to really give them solid help.
Yeah.
And one thing that I remember the trainer told me at the training was, being a survivor is a lifetime journey. Yes, you could be healed. Yes, you could have come out, but there's always going to be, that thing that may take you back. It always may be that situation. It always may be a question asked. It always may be, emotion. And you have to know that, yes, you're out, you are healed, you're empowered, but it's a lifetime journey. It's a lifetime journey to be a survivor.
Yes. My goodness. So we're going to get into now, what caused you to write the book? I mean, why now? How long did it take? And all of those things. Tell us a little about that.
Quickly, what happened, actually started it was almost a 3-year process. And it was a 3-year process because of the fact that it was a healing, because of the fact of the nature of, the book, the nature of me really now wanting to expose my life, not about nobody else, me, expose my life. And then the other thing too, truth be told, again, because that's my basis, standing in your truth.
Okay, so hold one moment, Amina. We're going to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back. And we're going to talk about the book and your nonprofit, Love by the Handles, when we return.
Never could have made.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Good morning. This WOL Traffic Update is brought to you by Leidos. Freedom to think forward on Georgia Avenue at Morton Street, south of Park Road, northwest. It was an accident. Inner loop, Beltway, very slow all the way around from before Connecticut Avenue eastbound around to New Hampshire Avenue, where the 2 left lanes are still closed with an overturned truck. Formerly known as SAIC, Leidos has a 44-year legacy of tackling the hardest technical and scientific challenges facing our world. They give their customers the freedom to think forward. Visit Leidos.com. Now your WOL weather forecast, brought to you by Heritage for the Blind. For today, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 70s, a few clouds overnight, maybe a shower down to 67 tomorrow. Rain showers, maybe a thunderstorm in the afternoon, and a high near 76. Be a star, donate your car to Heritage for the Blind. Call 1-800-DONATE-CARS or 1-800-446-1234. Steve Hirschhorn from News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
I just love to encourage myself sometimes.
This is the Sea Island Morning Show. Good morning. This is Trendy Lindy. I'm live in the studio with Amina McWhirter. She is the author of her first book, Shh, No More, Be Free and Live Life, Empower, Encourage, and Enhance Your Well-Being. We've been talking about her life this morning as a single person, a married mother of 2, and we've been talking about her divorce. We're now talking about her book that she did write, and we're talking about her nonprofit. So let's continue, Amina.
Well, the one thing that you asked prior to us going on the break was you asked about how did the book come up, and I was saying that this was about close to a 3-year process, and just the nature of the book just took me time to really be able to want to be truthful and deal. But another reason was just like what you had mentioned about, I hope she writes a book, or I want to help her write the book. I had a sip and chat with some friends and girlfriends, and we were talking, and out of that, these women are phenomenal, but yet they went through some really dark times in their life. In addition to that, as we talked about different things that transpired in my previous relationship and things happening publicly, which caused people to message me privately on Facebook and different things, and letting me know that they have experienced the same thing, or they were experiencing a very similar situation, not just necessarily in church, but just within their own relationship. So between the sip and chat and the ladies talking about their experiences, these private messages that were coming on, again, these are still women that did not want to necessarily come out. They did not want to be able to talk about it. And so from that, I said, you know what? I didn't go through what I went through to keep it to myself.
That's right.
I went through what I went through to really be able to let women know you can make it through.
That's
and
right.
what you're going through is real. If you're experiencing anything that's unhealthy, oh, it's real. It ain't in your head. It's not, you know, you're too sensitive. You're crazy. No. It's real.
It's real.
And so from that standpoint, that's when I said, okay. And what I also realized is for the book, and like the foundation specifically, but for the book, it ain't for everybody. And yes, I said ain't because I got emotional.
That's
but
right.
It is not for everybody.
That's right.
And I had to understand that. So if I have, you know, naysayers, if I have people that are giving me negative criticism, if people want to be, it's okay. Because that comes along with being public, comes along with being an author. It actually comes with the territory of wanting to be a spokesperson, wanting to be a philanthropist.
That's right.
It comes along with it.
That's part
that
of
it's
it.
not about me.
That's right.
And I know, like never before, neither is this book for
That's right.
everybody.
That's right.
It's for a certain group of people to be able to make sure that they know that they're not alone.
Excellent.
To be able to make sure that they know that they can walk happy, protect their happiness in this journey called life. And so from that, it's weird because the book came just like, wow, it all just happened so quickly, but it has been a journey. It's been a 3-year process, as I said. Prior to that, the foundation. You know, the foundation was something that I wanted to start, like I said, back in the early, I'm going to say late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe like early 2000s, actually, like 2000, 2001.
Well, let's go straight into that, Amina. Tell us what your foundation is and tell us about it, the mission. What do you do?
Well,
what's the name?
Love by the Handles. Actually, like I said, started in paper and starting the foundation 2012. It took us really almost 2 years. It started the end of 2012 with me saying, you know what, this is something I know I'm commissioned to do, and let me go ahead and do it and stop procrastinating. The funds and stuff will happen. I mean, I sold stuff. I did what I needed to do. As I said, I have a really, really good support team with me now. The gentleman that I'm dating, he's a huge support, and we just made it happen.
Wow.
You know, we just made it really happen to start the foundation. He actually is the one that created my logo. I gave him the vision and he put it on paper, and it was just like, okay, we're going to make it happen. And so 2013 I launched it, but it took me a whole year to become a 501c3.
Wow.
And even with that, I had an outside company helping me because I work full time. So I had an outside company helping me just make sure I get the paperwork and things together. And all of that is, you know, I am a solid, truthful 501c3 foundation that started, you know, from the scratch up. But the basis of it is really to help people in transition. And when I say transition, it's a couple of different groups: homeless, domestic violence victims, which a lot of domestic violence victims are in the homeless shelters. They just don't want to talk about being a DV victim. So they just come in, you know, as I'm just here, because again, they're still scared to deal with that. And then what we're really going to get into, and I'm looking for grant money and doing all of that because I really want to be able to help youth at risk.
Okay.
Because that also is a part that we have to be able to break that cycle. Break the cycle of people being abused or being abusees.
Yes.
Break the cycle of, you know, poverty and different things like that, where it doesn't go into, you know, a generational thing.
Yes.
And those are things that we really want to make sure that I and my foundation help. And we're starting to do so many different things. I mean, we had Zumba for the Cause, where we are, where we ended up raising money to support domestic violence victims. We go out monthly to feed the homeless. We're actually working together with Bennett Institute, Bennett Career Institute. I got excited with Bennett Career Institute to partner with some upcoming things this fall, and it's all about empowering women.
That's right.
And so that's really what's happening with the foundation.
So where did you come up with this name, Love by the Handles? What is that?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned in the early part of the interview my daughter and I, because yes, I do. I mean, some women shoes and this and that. For me, it's handbags. I loved handbags. And so I remember years upon years ago, I was watching an Oprah Winfrey show, and a young girl, I think she was about 12, and she wanted to go out to the homeless shelters and give them pajamas. And she realized that all of the people there the kids had mixed match pajamas on. They had holes in them. And she said, you know what? I want to start a foundation where I just give them pajamas. So I kind of took that a little bit and said, you know what? I want to be able to make sure that when I have the foundation, it's kind of still geared with handbags. And so I don't accept any clothes unless it's an urgent item for the shelters, but I accept food, and I accept bags, definitely women to give or men to give handbags, messenger bags, whatever it is, because anything that we give out, we're giving it out with a bag with a handle. So that, a lot of times when people give things to shelters, they always put it in trash bags.
That's true.
They put all their clothes in trash bags, they put the canned food in trash bags, and I did not want the recipients to feel that they were trash.
Exactly.
So anything that we give is going to be in a bag. If we're partnering with like Dress for Success, or we're partnering with other organizations, even in workforce development, we're giving them a nice purse so they can carry a purse. But anything that we give, it has a message of hope, and it has an empowering message on the inside of that bag that's donated. And one thing that I have found is that we have to make sure, at least for me, is that I want to give back to the community, and not just empowering them, but where they need clothes, they need food, they need shelter. They, if they are homeless and they don't have a facility, then Love by the Handles want to be able to go out and give them blankets in the wintertime, give them some coffee, some tea, whatever it may be, just to help and let them know that someone cares about them.
That's right. Okay, in 30 seconds, if you can, Amina, what would you advise someone who's in a toxic or abusive relationship right now? What would you say to them?
First, be honest that it's really happening and that it's not you.
Okay.
That may it be being honest with yourself. Then finding that safe place, even if it's someone where you're just calling a group, a prayer line, you're calling a friend that won't even know you, you want to post something on Facebook that's not your name, you just have to reach out to seek help. But more importantly, be honest with yourself, and then find someone that you can trust. I don't care who that person is, that you can trust, and let them know, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm experiencing. And then also, I do want to give domestic violence hotline number.
Okay.
It is, if I may,
yes,
it's 1-800-799-7233. I love this line because this line has a group of volunteers that will just talk to you. They will be that friend that you can be honest with. They don't know you, but they want to help you through whatever your situation is. So I really like that. Again, it's 1-800-799-7233.
We definitely appreciate that. Now, this is the first time that I have not given the call-in number to call in to do those things, because I intentionally wanted you to direct all of your questions, comments, and anything that you may want to ask Amina. I want you to direct that to her. So tell us your contact information, Amina. How can someone contact you?
I appreciate that, Lindy, because of the mere fact of the seriousness of the two things that I'm involved with, the foundation as well as my book. And
That's
sometimes people need to be able to first express what they're going through secretly. And I understand that. So I will encourage you, if you want to talk with me, if you want to just let me be there to support you and just hold your hand through whatever you may be going through, please go to my website, lovebythehandles.com. Again, lovebythehandles with the S.com, and under the contact information, and just leave that and whatever it is that you want to talk, and I definitely will get back with you.
Amina, I so appreciate this interview. I thank you so much for coming in and sharing your testimony. I'm sure someone have been helped and encouraged to make their life better, to get out of certain situations, and just to love themselves. So thank you so much for coming on this morning. Thank you, radio audience, for tuning in every Monday to listen to the C. Allen Morning Show. We appreciate you, love you. C. Allen will be back on next Monday, and we want you to remember to pamper yourself. It is your duty. Why? Because you are worth it. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I never could have made it.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Radio 1, the urban media specialist, is proud to help your company reach thousands of qualified diverse job seekers. If your company's recruitment needs include diversity, please join Radio 1 on Tuesday, September 30th for the Radio 1 Diversity Career Fair. To inquire about your company participating, simply email diversitycareerfair@radio-1.com. Position your company in front of several thousand qualified diverse job seekers at the Radio 1 Diversity Career Fair on September 30th at the DC Armory. For more information, email diversitycareerfair@radio-1.com. Radio 1 is the leader in reaching qualified diverse candidates. Don't miss out on the opportunity to recruit the best and the brightest minds. Email diversitycareerfair@radio-1.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
The following is a paid advertisement by Purity Products. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases.
Hello and welcome to Healthline. I'm your host, Pat Campbell. We are sponsored by Purity Products. We have got a fascinating show for you today. Now, it's no secret that as we age, most of us experience a steady decline in physical strength, speed, and endurance. We lose muscle. We lose power. We lose energy. And that can be disconcerting for a lot of people. Well, believe it or not, scientists have long known about a dietary supplement used